My MOM told everyone she had financed my successful business. I found out at a business meeting. What happened when I confronted her revealed something I did not expect to find about why she did it. There are people who need to be part of your success in a way you have not given them, who do not do it from malice exactly, who do it from something more like need. The need to be relevant in the story of someone they love, to not be left out of the most important chapter. For when people talk about what you achieve, their name to also appear somewhere in the story. My mom had found a way to do it by telling a version of my story where she had been the condition that made it possible. A version that was not true, that circulated in the mouths of people who had no reason to doubt it, and that arrived somewhere where it mattered in a way it should never have mattered. My name is Diana. I am 40 years old. I am the founder of a strategic communications consultancy I built 7 years ago from scratch with my personal savings, my own professional contacts, and the years of work I had accumulated in the sector before launching out on my own. There is no other version of that origin. There was no external financing. There were no family connections. There was no one who put in a single peso that was not me. What there was 7 years of work that had reached a point where the company had 20 active clients, 8 collaborators, and a reputation in the sector that I had built project by project. My mom's name was Rosario. She was 65 years old. She was a retired elementary school teacher. She was a woman who had loved me all my life in the specific way that mothers who did not always have the tools to show that love in a way you fully felt it love you. A woman who in the years of building the business had been more absent than present in terms of concrete support. Not because she was a bad person, because she had her own limitations and her own battles that had occupied the space where support could have been. I had processed that. I had understood it. I had accepted it as the version of the relationship that was possible between us. What I had not known was what was happening in parallel. The business meeting was with an entrepreneur named Ernesto. I had been in conversations with him for weeks about a potential strategic alliance that would have represented significant expansion for my company. I arrived at the meeting as prepared as always. The first 20 minutes were agenda. At some point, Ernesto, with the casual tone of someone mentioning something they believe is already known, told me he had heard that my company had started with significant family capital and that it gave him confidence to know that backing was behind it. I sat looking at him for a moment. I asked him where he had heard that. He told me from mutual contacts in the sector. I told him the information was incorrect, that my company had been founded exclusively with my own capital and had no family financing or external backing of any kind. Ernesto nodded with the expression of someone recalibrating something in real time. The meeting continued and reached good terms. But I left with a question that was not going to stop asking itself until I had an answer. Where did that version come from? The mutual contacts Ernesto mentioned were people in the sector I knew. People who also knew my mom, because in some events and gatherings over the years the worlds had crossed. The connection did not take long to form. That night, I called a friend who knew both my mom and people in the sector. Her name was Claudia. I asked her indirectly whether she had heard anything about the origin of my company. Claudia took a while. She told me yes, that at some point, she did not remember exactly when, she had heard my mom tell people that when I had decided to launch the business, she had lent me the initial capital and had also connected me with the first clients through her own networks. I asked whether she had believed it. She told me she had not questioned it, that it came from my mom, that why would she doubt something my mom said about me? I told her the version was not correct, that I had built my company completely on my own. Claudia processed that in silence for a moment. She told me she was sorry, that she had not known it was different. What I did in the following days before talking to my mom was the same as in other difficult situations. Understand the extent before reacting. How much had that version circulated? In what circles? Had it affected anything beyond the conversation with Ernesto? What I found when I asked discreetly in the right circles was that the version had been circulating for at least 3 years. In my mom's social environment, her friends, her neighbors, people from her church, in some professional circles where the worlds had crossed. Not massively, but consistently. My mom had told that story enough times to enough people for it to have reached a place where it could affect my business relationships. I called my mom and asked her to meet. I told her it was about something important. She asked whether I was okay. I told her yes, but that I needed to talk to her in person. We met on Saturday at her house. She received me with coffee, as always. I sat in the kitchen of the house where I had grown up, and I told her what had happened in the meeting with Ernesto. Not accusatorially, in the way you tell something to someone when you need them to understand the impact of something before asking them why they did it. I told her a potential partner had mentioned having heard that my company had started with family capital and connections she had given me. That was not true, that I had built my company completely on my own, that I needed to know whether she had said anything of that kind to people in her circle. My mom did not deny it immediately. What she did was what I did not expect. Her eyes filled with tears before she answered, and that told me what was coming was not a defense. It was something different. What my mom told me over the following half hour was the most honest thing she has said to me in 40 years of being her daughter. She told me yes, that she had said those things, that she had told stories about having helped me in ways that did not correspond to what had really happened, that she had done it because when people asked about my company and she started telling them what I had achieved, she arrived at the part where she asked herself what part had been hers. And the answer was that she had not had a part. She told me that hurt her in a way she had not known how to process any other way. That she had been a mother who had not been able to be there the way she would have wanted when I was building something important. That the money I needed in that period she had not had. That the connections that would have helped me were not hers. That she had watched something being built without being able to contribute anything. And that when she told people she had helped, that pain was a little smaller. I stayed in silence for a time. What my mom had said did not change what she had done. It did not change that a false version had circulated for 3 years in circles where it mattered. It did not change that it had arrived at a business meeting in a way that could have cost me an important alliance. But it changed the conversation we were having. It moved it out of the place of accusation and put it in a place where there was something to understand. I told her I understood what she had told me, that I understood the pain of feeling she had not been able to be present in the way she would have wanted when I needed it most, that that was something real and that it deserved to be named, and that at the same time what she had done with that pain had had real consequences for me, not only in terms of reputation, but in something harder to name, in the version of my story that circulated in the world. My story, the work that had cost 7 years, the difficult decisions I had made alone, the moments where I did not know whether I was going to be able to continue, and I continued anyway. All of that belonged to me in a way that is non-negotiable. She had taken part of it, without asking me, to fill a space that hurt her, and that taking without asking was what I needed her to understand. My mom cried. She told me she had never seen it that way, that she had never thought about how it affected me, only about how it made her feel. I told her I believed that was true, that the problem was not that she was a bad person. It was that in that moment, she had not thought beyond what she needed. I asked her 2 things. The first, that in the circles where she had told that version, she corrected, that she did not have to make a formal announcement, that if the topic came up, she say she had made a mistake in telling things, and that I had built my company on my own, that was what was appropriate. The second, that if there were things about my life or my career that generated that pain, she'd tell me directly. That I could not give her what I did not know she needed, but that if she told me, we could find a way for her to be part of my story in a real way. Not invented. Real. My mom said yes to both things. 8 months have passed. My mom has corrected the version where she could. Not in every place it circulated, because those conversations have no map or expiration date. But where she has had the opportunity, she has done it. The relationship with my mom is different. It has conversations it did not have before. Conversations where she tells me what she feels about what I do, and where I can listen to her without that having to turn into something she needs to complete with a story that did not happen. The alliance with Ernesto moved forward. Not because the false version had not caused damage, but because when I clarified the situation directly, he processed it with the maturity of someone who distinguishes between the information they receive and the person in front of them. That was also information. What I wanted to take from this story has 2 parts. The first is for those who recognize themselves in my mom's position. Needing to be part of the success of someone you love is a genuinely human need. Especially when in the period when that success was being built, you could not be there the way you would have wanted. That pain deserves to be named with a person, not turned into a story that fills the space of what was not. Because that story has a cost that is not yours. It belongs to the person whose success you are borrowing. The second is for those who recognize themselves in Diana's position. When someone you love takes parts of your story to complete something of their own, the harm does not always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from the pain of someone who did not find another way to be present. Understanding that does not mean you cannot set the limit. It means the limit can be different from rupture. It can be the invitation for that person to be part of your story in a real way that is smaller than the one they invented. But that is true, and the truth, though more modest than the invented version, sustains something the invented version can never sustain: an honest relationship. If this story touched you, comment. Do you believe there are people in your life who need to be part of your story in ways you have not given them or that they cannot have? Like if you believe the pain of not being able to contribute to the success of someone we love is something society talks about very little. Subscribe for more real stories. Share with someone who is navigating a difficult relationship with their mom about who is recognized in their story. Reflection to take with you. Your success belongs to you. The story of how you built it belongs to you. And when someone takes it, even from love and from pain, they're taking something from you that is not transferable. Naming that is not ingratitude. It is taking care of the truth of what it cost you to get where you got.